next behaviors we're going to talk about are initiative and ownership. Different words, but they fit together really as one sort of combined behavior, very consistent in how they show up in problem solving. Now, why they're so important is that problems don't solve themselves. People solve problems. And more importantly, people decide to solve problems. You have to start with that decision to wade into and engage, immerse yourself into the problem. If you take almost any problem-solving training course and you sit down, they begin to teach you from the beginning of problem solving, or so they say. You take out a sheet of paper, you give you whatever template they are going to teach you, you start writing a problem statement. But what happens right before that? Right before that is the initiative to start. Right before that is the decision to start. And they very rarely include that in the training. Without it, what's the point of any of the rest of it? So, deciding with all the things we have on our plate to wade into a problem, to engage with a problem, the initiative to start is a significant hurdle to actually getting problem solving to work. And then once we do, to carry forward throughout all the trials and tribulations of solving the problem requires the initiative to continue to push forward. Ownership is a little different, and fundamentally it's about not being a victim to the problems around us. It's not being passive-aggressive, it's not pointing blame, and it's not pointing out problems for other people to solve. Ownership involves taking some ownership over the problems that you observe. Even if you're not the right person to solve it, pointing it out to someone is very different than engaging them and helping them start the initiative with it. Ownership is about taking care of that problem for whatever time period it's in your care and making sure that it has a proper home. Initiative and ownership go together to make sure that problems are actually engaged with and taken care of. Now, what stands in the way of this? The primary barrier is people saying they don't have time. I don't have the time to solve that problem or solve another problem. So this really involves the prioritization of time. Here's a little assessment. Do you have a lot of meetings and you try to squeeze problem solving in between those meetings where it might fit? Or do you have time allocated to problem solving and meetings have to fit around that schedule? Well, whichever way it is says a lot about what you care more about, what you have prioritized your time for. Now, none of us have enough time. We can't make more time. There's a fixed amount of time in the day, and there's a nearly fixed amount of time in the workday. And very few of us get everything done we need to get done before we go home each day. So it's not about making time, it's about the prioritization of time. Fundamentally, it's about whether we value problem solving enough to make sure it's one of the things that does get done. So something's going to fall below the line. Is it problem solving? Or is it something else? Now, leaders who value problem solving, who want to help create the initiative, can help set the system up for this. One of the best ways to do this is to block off time. Whether it's a set time every day for the organization to engage in their problems, or every Tuesday afternoon is blocked off for problem solving. Certainly, this makes it a little easier for people to prioritize that time. First, you've signaled that you think it's a priority, just by saying that this is what I want everyone spending their time on. You've sent a clear signal to the organization about what matters. And second, it reduces the friction of problem solving, because at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon, I know that the people that I need to collaborate with aren't going to be in another meeting, because we don't have meetings at that time. That time is reserved for problem solving. Much more likely, I'm going to find the people I need to move forward. So what we do with our own time and what we do with the organization's time says a lot about whether we truly prioritize problem solving enough that allows people to take the initiative, including our own initiative. Now, what many people think is that initiative and ownership is about prioritizing what to start. And as I already said, starting is absolutely critical. But more importantly is finishing. We should be prioritizing what to finish. There's plenty of problems that we can start, and starting feels like accomplishment. It feels like I got something done because I've started a new problem. But we've only really gotten something done when we finish a problem. Now, there's many benefits to getting across that finish line, to making sure that problems are getting done, and we have the initiative to get them across that finish line. First, we get to gain the benefit of the results. We don't gain the benefit along the way. We gain the benefit when the solutions are implemented. We want those results sooner rather than later. Second, we benefit by gaining the learning. Sure, we gather knowledge along the way, but it's only cemented as learning when we're finished, because only then do we see, did it take us where we wanted to go. So we generate more learning faster by prioritizing what to finish. Also, by making sure that we push through to the end, we avoid many mistakes that happen along the way. The longer a problem goes on, the more likely bad stuff starts to creep in. We get scope creep, we get assumptions floated, we get lack of rigor, we get loss of alignment, we might even get team member changes, leading to further loss of alignment. The faster we push through and get to the finish line, the less likely any of those bad things creep into our problem-solving effort. And most importantly, nothing inspires like accomplishment. We feel good when we get across the finish line, and it makes us much more likely that we then take the initiative and pick up another problem. Now, one of my favorite tests to see whether ownership really exists in the organization is asking people, when you see waste or experience a problem, what do you do? Is there a clear answer? Is there a standard answer? Does someone really know what they should be doing in that moment? That says a lot about ownership. Because fundamentally, our standard should be find a problem, fix a problem. If we're close enough to a problem to experience it, we should also be close enough that we can do something about it. Now, maybe that problem requires handing off to someone else, but again, we take ownership until that handoff happens. Maybe it requires collaboration, and so getting to the finish line might take a while. But again, when we find a problem, we're close enough to it to experience it. Are we close enough to it to take ownership for it? I was once working with a leadership team of a factory, and we were going on a waste walk. And the whole idea was to find problems through the lens of waste. As we did that, one of the first steps, as this was a clean room environment, was take a swig of water to wash any particulate out of your mouth. Now, as this happened, the location of the water jug and the garbage can resulted in this dance of extra motion as people had to throw away their cups. Someone even commented in the find a problem category, look at the waste of motion that this process requires. And then everyone filed past and walked on to the next step. No one took ownership over that problem. This was the factory leadership team. Every single problem in that factory should ultimately rest either with them or with somebody on their team. But no one recognized it, and no one took the initiative to speak up. And so ultimately, I did. Then, as soon as that happened, people started to realize that this is a kind of problem that doesn't require a lot of initiative. Someone has to decide to. And so the problem was fixed there on the spot. But when we find a problem and we point it out, we leave it for someone else. We assume someone else has got that problem or will take care of it. That's where problems are left to lay. Ultimately, initiative and ownership results in the behavior of find a problem, fix a problem. And only that's how we know that the problems found result in problems solved.